In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 principles to be consistent in anything you do. Whether you're seeking discipline and consistency in achieving your goals, being consistent in your startup business, maintaining consistency in the habits that you want to develop, or you just want to be generally consistent in your life overall. These 10 principles will help you be consistent in any area you seek to master and conquer. Every single one of us has great potential to be so much more than we are. And throughout our lives, we stumble upon many amazing ideas and take great initiatives for our growth and well-being. As we start off, we go to great lengths to set everything up and get things going. But after the initial hype settles down, we often find it difficult to be consistent and stay in the flow. Eventually, we end up quitting. Let's be real. Consistency is a struggle for most people. So many great ideas and initiatives are just buried forever. Many people who have the potential to achieve so much never make it, only because of the lack of consistency. We have all the positive intentions and thoughts, and we often know what we should do to increase the quality of our lives. If only we could consistently follow some of our life's callings, our life might transform beyond our imagination. Now, I'm not going to preach you the importance of planning, scheduling, and goal setting. If you're watching this video, chances are that you're already into goal setting at some level. And you know that setting goals and making plans to achieve those goals isn't the real deal at all. The real deal is to follow through those plans and be consistent in your efforts. Now, personally, I too struggled with being consistent earlier in my life. If you would have known me a few years ago, you would have found me to be the most inconsistent person ever. Whatever I would do, I would just quit after a few months. I dropped out of several institutions and abandoned so many initiatives. I was so inconsistent that people used to call me out on that. My family and friends, quote-unquote, knew that I would quit on whatever initiative I took, and that made me doubt my own ability to be consistent. I unconsciously accepted people's image of me being inconsistent, and that majorly affected my self-image and my self-esteem. Eventually, I lost so much trust in myself that I became afraid to commit to anything since I doubted my ability to follow through. But over the years, as I kept searching for my true calling in life, I realized that I wasn't actually inconsistent. I was dropping out and abandoning stuff because that was not something I really wanted to do, and deep inside I knew that. Many of the initiatives I took were influenced by the society or the people close to me, but those were not congruent with who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do deep inside. This leads us to the very first principle of being consistent, and that is, commit if you really want to do it. Often people commit to things in the heat of the moment, and their decision to commit is based on the face value of things. They don't take the time to think it through, and that is why they don't realize what it really takes to commit to achieving the results. So before committing to anything important, ask yourself these 4 questions. Are you really willing to face the challenges that might come along in this journey? Are you willing to go through the learning curve and develop all the necessary skills that you might need along the way? Are you willing to take the time out for this, even if it means making some sacrifices on other things? And most importantly, do you really want this? Or are you doing this just in the heat of the moment? What is your real why behind wanting this? Be honest with yourself. The second principle is to focus on one main thing at a time. Pick one thing and stick to it until it sticks to you. If it's a good habit that you want to develop, stick to developing one habit. Don't try to make more habits until the first one has become a part of you. If it's a skill that you're working on, focus on that one skill and master it. If it's a startup business, don't chase other ideas until you've made enough effort and progress on the first one. In short, don't bite off more than you can chew. The third principle of consistency is don't complicate things. Make it simple and sustainable. A lot of people, while starting off something, get into too much fuss and tiny details. They make it more complex for themselves than it should be. Remember that the key to sustainability is simplicity. If you get into too much detail in the beginning, trying to make everything perfect and fretting over tiny details, it will be difficult for you to last long, especially after the initial hype fades off. The reality is that you are going to face some ups and downs of life along the way. And if you have made things too difficult and complicated for yourself, it will be much harder for you to carry on in the rough patches. Take a simple example. If you want to lose weight and get fitter, instead of going extremely scientific in the beginning and counting every single calorie in your diet, just put on your running shoes and go for a jog. So many people are unable to carry out their health plan just because they associate so much hassle to exercising. You can add the details and level things up as you progress, but first just get in the habit of getting things going. The fourth principle of consistency is to choose efficiency over creativity where needed. Now, if you have been following my content on Online Life Guide blog, you know that I am about creativity and originality. Creativity in the right place is certainly a must and has its own place, but sometimes unnecessary creativity can affect the efficiency and flow of things, making it difficult to sustain in the long run. Don't waste your creative efforts in petty things, especially if you are starting off. Choose flow and efficiency in routine tasks so that you don't have to waste your mental energy on the small stuff. Reserve your mental energy and creativity for things that really matter in terms of your progress. A couple of examples would be, if you have just started exercising, instead of trying out new exercises every single day and exhausting yourself over which are the best ones for you, just stick to the few basic core exercises and be consistent with them. Or if you're starting off on your startup project, instead of putting all of your creativity in making your office a perfect representation of your brand or making your website the most advanced, stylish website out there, focus more of your creative efforts on the products and services that you're going to offer. That is what matters most in the long run. The fifth principle of consistency is to avoid paralysis by analysis. With so much information out there, it is easy to get caught up with all the tiny details and analytics. When you analyze things too much, especially when they are in their initial phases and not producing much results, you will get fed up and eventually you will end up quitting. If you have just started working out and you see your progress every single day in the mirror or checking your weight every 2 or 3 days, you will get discouraged pretty soon. Just seek enough information so that you have a solid strategy and then focus all of your energy on delivering. Don't fret if you're not getting results right away. Things take their time. Stop analyzing too much. You will have more peace of mind and you will be able to focus on delivering your best, which will eventually skyrocket your progress in the long run. There will be times when you might doubt yourself or doubt the achievability of the task. Don't buy into those negative thoughts and doubts. The sixth principle of consistency is to set realistic goals and expectations. As Anthony Robbins would say, most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. Many of us, after seeing other people's overnight success stories, expect results too early. We sometimes overestimate what we can achieve in 6 to 12 months. The success stories that we hear of people who blew up overnight are exceptional cases, not the norm. Aim the highest, but set realistic goals and expectations. Shoot for the stars, but expect to work hard for several years to build a rocket. Sow a seed today, but expect a fully developed, luscious tree in the next 10 years. The seventh principle is to pace yourself to avoid burnouts. The initial hype of things can make us work too hard to the point of burnout. It's wise to see this beforehand and avoid it. Work hard, but remember to pace yourself and take some time to breathe, enjoy, and relax along the way. Take the example of a marathon runner and a sprinter. A sprinter can run super fast, but just for a few minutes, while the marathon runner paces himself to avoid exhaustion and is able to run for hours and hours while having a good time along the way. There is an old saying that you throw a bucket of water on a rock and it doesn't do anything. You let a drop of water fall onto a rock every single day and it creates a hole in that rock. The 8th principle is to value progress over perfection. When we start out on something so enthusiastically, our inner perfectionist and critic tends to come out and pinpoint all the flaws and errors to us. All we need to do in this case is to just tell that inner perfectionist and critic to just shut up and sit his bum down. One thing to add here is that the all or nothing mindset is very unproductive and inefficient. We cannot always give our best all the time. Sometimes we have to perform on an average level to be able to maintain the consistency. Just don't make it a habit. The 9th principle is to learn to say no. Learning to say no is an essential part of being consistent. It is very hard for a yes man or woman to be consistent at something because they are always occupied by things that are not necessary. Prioritize and don't let any distractions drag you away from your priority tasks. If you have made a commitment to a certain thing, keep it high on your priority list and say no to anything that might get in the way. Don't make the promises that you can't keep, whether it be making promises to yourself or to other people. The 10th and the final principle of consistency is to forgive yourself for not being consistent and then come back to your commitment. We all are human beings and we have our ups and downs. Nothing is 100% perfect. There will be times when you will lapse. Everyone does. It is good to be ambitious, but going too hard on yourself will only make you feel disappointed, which is in fact counterproductive. Let's say if you have decided to go for a run daily for the next 30 days and you miss out on 6 or 7 days, that is totally okay. That does not mean that you're inconsistent. See the glass as half full. At least you managed to run for 23 or 24 days, and that is better than nothing at all. Sometimes life can get in the way no matter how hard we try to commit, and that is totally natural. The thing that determines your consistency is not how perfectly you follow through, but how fast you come back to your commitment if you get off the track. Instead of beating yourself up, accept it and be forgiving towards yourself. And then get back to it.